What can be learned from a story, woven out of fragmented moments of joy, pain, and blissful awareness? I wrote my first book, Flesh Mapping, in 2013. It was an invitation into co-creating a pedagogy, a way of learning through our shared narratives of place and politics, a way of mapping the injuries of the material, emotional, spiritual impact of all our many journeys of growth. Some may call it struggle, forced poverty, displacement, hunger, and war. As a child raised in war, I've learned many lessons. And in the art of living, I'm inviting some of my heroes, some of the people who walk with me, who have taught me to walk in beautiful ways, to see co-creation, to see community as our immunity to pain, to suffering, to wanting. Welcome. I'm your host, Sylvia Richardson, and this is The Art of Living. You are listening to The Art of Living. I'm your host, Sylvia Richardson, and I'm joined by Ernie Punch McLean. In hockey circles, the name Ernie Punch McLean is legendary. A prospector, a business owner, and a talent scout. McLean's reputation as a true character of the game was forged through a lengthy resume of accomplishments. One of the original founders of the current Western Hockey League. McLean survived a plane crash in 1971 and within a year moved his hockey club from Estevan to New Westminster, settling himself in Coquitlam. His hockey team soon built a reputation and a fierce record during the rough-and-tumble 1970s. McLean Bruins would set a record in qualifying for 4 straight Memorial Cup championships, capturing the junior title in 1977 and 1978. Welcome to our program, Ernie. How are you today?
I'm sounding great. That's pretty good interview. You got everything there. You know, we don't have to go any farther. You got everything.
Well, thank you for joining us. Because what I hope that maybe you'll tell us a little bit about the story of how you got to be this legendary figure. So, what got you started in hockey?
Well, that's going way back, hon. When I was 13 years old, I got my first pair of skates, and my dad paid the guy at the rink 50 cents to teach me to skate. A fellow by the name of Archie Running, and then after that, I got to be worked at the rink as a kind of like a bit of a guide or that, and I practiced all the time. And then when I was 17 years old, I got invited to New York Rangers training camp. And from there, it went on to an interview with a fellow from Prince Albert. And when I met with him, he's sitting in front of me smoking. And I'll never forget that. He wanted me to come to Prince Albert Mintos. And so I said, still, I was in Winnipeg and at their training camp, and Jack Giles, a friend, they got there too, and then I met a fellow by the name of Gordon Andres, and he said, Scotty Monroe would like to meet you down at this other hotel, and so I said, okay. So Jack Giles and I went down and met Scotty Monroe he had moved from Lethbridge to Humboldt to become the Humboldt Indians. I figured, okay, he was good, straightforward. But I said, you got to come and meet my dad. So anyway, Gordon Andres and Scotty, a couple of weeks later, drove to Estevan. And so we had a chat. My dad right away said, Scotty said, I'd like him to come away to Humboldt, play hockey. No, he can't go because hockey players are nothing but bums. They just end up as bums. But anyway, my mom decided, yes, I should go. And I went and played 2 years in Humboldt and for Scotty Monroe. And then in 1957, I was one of the very instrumental in having Scotty move to Estevan. and become the Estevan Bruins. So I started coaching with Scotty then and learning the little different things about it all. And so from then on, it was just a straight and go, and got into coaching and got to understand it, and got a fellow by the name of Howie Milford, played in the National Hockey League and the Western Hockey League back when they had the senior leagues, and he came in as the first coach, and I studied under Howie, and he was the one that taught me to play defensive hockey, and that's why we were so successful through that whole period of time. So
What would you
that was the start of it.
You make it sound so straight line, but with every dream, there's moments where you have self doubt, where you meet with obstacles. How did you overcome? I imagine there might have been some barriers, and how did you overcome them?
There's always barriers, but I think when you think it through and like I was always instrumental in making changes with the play of the players, to making them to understand that the player that plays beside him will be his lifelong buddy. It's a little different. My style, I suppose, is a little different. There was always barriers. There's always things to overcome, and I think the biggest one I had to overcome, the hockey became great, was very successful, but things in your life changes. We had the construction company, and I was on the road all the time moving heavy equipment we had a big construction company in Estevan with my dad and my brothers, and then April 19th, 1971, we were doing a job up at Lynn Lake, Manitoba. I flew in and I sent the guys, because the only way to get Lynn Lake, Manitoba at that time, there was no roadways. All our equipment had to be put on railroad tracks and go there on the rail. And we were moving a 100-ton vessel off of the railroad onto the mooring. And I got back, was finished up in 3 days. It was supposed to take a week. So I got back down to La Paz, where I had the airplane parked, and it was 8 o'clock at night, and the guy said, when I put my flight plan in, he says, there's a front's laying over Dauphin Lake. And I said, well, I'll be quite a bit north of that. And it wasn't. I flew right into it and ended up and crashed the airplane. And when I laid in the hospital for 11 days with touch and go, and whether I would even make it or not, they took 57 pieces of wood out of the side of my face. And I decided then, of course, when I got home after 11 days, and everybody wanted to come and see you and chat with you. And I went to Bill Shinsky and I said, Bill, come on, let's go for a drive. So Bill and I went. We stopped off at Swift-Current, met Bill Burton, and then from there we went to Calgary and met Scotty. And he said, come on, let's go to Kamloops. So we went to Kamloops and we met Dennis Coates. And of course, my jaw was all wired up and patch over my eye. And of course, everybody wants to then get to know what happened. And so we said, we're looking at maybe moving the hockey club here to Kamloops. And he's, no. He says, go to Vancouver, go there and go to the Coliseum. So the next day we drove and we went into the Coliseum and met Bud Poyle, which was running the Vancouver Canucks at that time. And we said, we'd like to move the hockey club in here. Oh, great idea. He said, that would be super. Just like the Montreal Junior Canadiens, the Montreal Toronto Maple Leafs would have the Vancouver Junior Canucks at that time. And so that was at 2 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the morning. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we got a call from Bud Poyle and said, no. He says, Coley Hall and Nat Bailey, they won't let anybody come in here unless they are involved because they lost out because they didn't get the team in the first team that came in with the WHA.
Wow.
So there was a lot of problems.
Yeah. It's interesting that, that plane crash in 1971 really changed in so many ways the course of your life. Not only did you not sit in the hospital mourning about what had happened, but you actually completely changed your life. Like you moved across provinces and started, this beautiful hockey league. How was it coaching the Fear Bruins? There's, stories how people's bones shook when you were playing their team.
Well, there's lots of stories, a lot of things that we played a tough, aggressive hockey. At that time, going back to when the Philadelphia, they started the toughness of the league. Bobby Clark came from Flin Flon, Leach came from Flin Flon, Manitoba. They played there. I played against them, or coached against them, and they started at the Philly. So the style of hockey at that time, and of course, for my job is to make sure that the players that were qualified to go was ready to play in that type of hockey. So that's what I taught them, and I taught them to be tough, be strong, and be aggressive.
But you didn't only play hockey, you also made time for love, for family. What was your life like? Because most people have an idea that if you have a dream, you have to surrender everything else, and just focus on that one thing. That's not how you live life. Can you tell us a little bit of how you
No,
balance?
when I decided, and I met Francis Sparks in Estevan, we went to high school together, and that's quite a story too of how we met. And back at that time in college or in the hockey was just part of it, okay? And when we're going to high school, there's Neil McLean, and I'm trying to think how you got me into something else that I haven't even thought about for a long time. But Francis Sparks was a high jumper, and we in the school were the teachers for the hockey or for the sports, and it was interesting because every time Morgan, he would always take the D girls. And so Neil McLean and myself, no relation, but we said, let's go down and see why this here. Morgan's always taking the D girls in the high school, down in the where they were working out, and here we see this girl running and jumping over the high jumping.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then when we got together and we had some dates, like I said, then I went away to play hockey, and when I came back, I said I was going to get a chance to go to the training camp of the Bruins, and she said, well, if you do that, I'm going to go and move to Calgary. So then I decided because at that time I could make more money working with Dad than I could go to be playing in hockey. So the 5th of August 1953, we got married, and we had a great life. She was with me right up till one day short of 70 years, and we had a family, 2 boys. So I live here at home with 1 boy, and the other boy's out in Langley, and we got great grandchildren, and so we had a successful life even in marriage.
Beautiful. One of the things that most people hope for is a life that is both successful in their careers and successful in their relations. You have certainly lived a very long and colorful life, and you're very strong. Like one thing that strikes me when I meet you is how strong you are. Your voice is so vibrant and youthful. What advice do you have for young people who are trying to figure out in the world and who feel really frightened that like it used to be better in the old days, but I feel that every generation has its own, series of challenges that we need to face and overcome.
Well, right, they had the biggest things is, with the kids today, it's totally different. We didn't have the cell phones like they have now. We didn't have so many little things that you get distracted from. But the biggest thing when I go into like the other day, I was at the dressing room out in Langley's team, just here. Brett Hughes that played for me way back, and now he's coaching the Ridge Meadows team. I walked in just as he was giving the press talk about, how to accomplish the game, how to play, and it reminded me that the puck can go faster than you can skate. So move the puck quick, move the puck and get it out so you can really go and do it. So after the game, they won 5-1, and I went into the dressing room and congratulated them and said, that he has now taken some of the history that I taught him back 80 years ago, or in the 80s, I mean, and so that he's teaching them boys the same thing that I taught him, and it was really, really rewarding to me. So that was one of the things. The other thing I said to them, you're always going to go through difficulties, and one of the things the kids now is going to be faced with, of course, is the drug situation, because it's easy for somebody to kind of talk you into it. And I would always say to the guys, I always knew the guys that smoked, because they would be the ones that would jump off the bus or be stopped and then run to the washroom quickly so they could have a puff before I caught up to them. And I always taught them, that the worst thing you can do is learn to be a smoker. It doesn't take anybody to do that, but for somebody to quit it and not smoke is very difficult.
What are some of the ways that you kept yourself focused on on your goals, and when there were distractions? Because I imagine you also face your own version of distractions.
Well, yeah, it's always difficult. I mean, the biggest thing is that you have to be a strong mind, and when you make adjustments to what you want in order to be successful and do the things that really make you successful, you have to be on top of everything. It's hard to really explain your thoughts, but it's hard to be ready to make adjustments on whatever you do. You're always going to have places where you're going to have difficult situations, but you have to make an adjustment for that so that you can move and carry on in the lines that you want to go, in the areas you want to go. You can't just go ahead and say, I'm not going to be able to do this. You figure out a way, whatever you can do in life, whatever you want to be your situation. If you want to be a lawyer, you got to work hard at it. If you want to be a judge, you have to do that. There's not any easy things. It's just as difficult as there is starting, but you have to be strong enough so that you get the rewards that you deserve.
That's beautiful. My mom used to tell me that the shortcuts are sometimes the longer road, because we think we're avoiding something that feels hard in the moment, but by not learning that, life keeps putting us in positions where we have to overcome exactly that thing we've been avoiding. One of the things I notice about you is that you're very vibrant, and you've knocked out many records already. What inspires you now? What do you look forward to now? What do you look forward to, and what is still in your to-do in your playlist?
In hockey, I just watch hockey now, and sometimes, like I said, I go and speak to kids and things like that. But way back after I sold my hockey club to Scalbania in 1980, and I went up to Athlone, British Columbia to negotiate a contract for Don Barry, that Don Barry played for the Penticton Bees way back when they beat the Russians the first time 5-0. And so he got into gold mining, and I went up there to negotiate this contract, and it was really great. It was a different move for me. I said, what a beautiful place, here in the wilds of the north, and where there's no guys calling me at 6 a.m. for an interview, or nobody calling me at midnight for their show. And I decided to go ahead and get involved in mining. I had no idea what I was doing. I never had a thought, but I got sided up with old Buster Irving has been mining for years, and asked him a lot of questions and started studying it. And so I've been that ever since now. And that's what I do in the summer times now. I go up, I was up in Atlin, British Columbia, then I moved to Davenport, up in that same area, and then I went over to Dease Lake, and then from Dease Lake now I'm up in just outside of Coquitlam, called Cottonwood. And so yes, for 4 or 5 months I enjoy working with the guys and equipment, and getting a little gold out of the ground, enough to keep you going, and it's great.
When many people are thinking about just sitting in the rocking chair, you're actually learning how to drive a rig. Interesting.
Well, yeah, I still do that. I still do, going back. I even drove our Bruin bus. I had all that. So yeah, no, I enjoy that. I can operate an excavator. I can drive a cat. I can drive a big truck and a low bed trailer. And yes, no, it keeps me going, and I enjoy it. And like right now, because of hockey, I do that all the time, and wait for the sun to come back out and the water start to run, and I go back to the mining.
What do you say to someone who is struggling maybe with some health issues, or maybe who's had a setback, physically? How do you recover because you've overcome many physical, barriers? How do you keep yourself strong and able to heal again?
Well, the biggest thing is, of course, is that depending on your body, like you got to watch what you eat, you got to watch what you do in that regards. And I never did smoke. I'll tell you that little story. I got out of that first of all, way back. My dad smoked these Cuban cigars, and my dad bought equipment and junk and beer bottles and things like that. And so me and my brother, David, he left a little bit of his cigar on the counter, and we took it. We got in behind the boxes, and we're sitting there smoking this cigar. And my dad said, "Oh, you want to smoke, eh? Good." So we take out 2 big cigars, and both of me, my brother, we smoked about, but we were so sick. I mean, that was the end of ever even thinking about smoking. So I don't know how you could tell any kids today of how not to smoke or not to get yourself into that same situation. I don't really know. I know if some of them do, and but to tell them how they can't or how you get over this stuff, I really don't know. You got to stay on top of it, and if you catch somebody when they're really, really young, explain to them just what happened to me, and hopefully that they'll look after themselves, because one of the big things I think always that smoking is one of the most things that is going to ruin your body and your health over anything.
Mm-hmm. And not only that, but as you said, is part of that discipline, right? Of honoring your body, honoring your mind, and being really disciplined about taking care of what matters most, which is your well-being. If you're healthy, you have many dreams. If you're sick, you have one dream. So when people ask you, what's your secret? What's your secret?
What's my secret to keep them out? Well, I go to the pool every day now in the summertime. I go to work. But right now I go to the pool, and I don't work out because, that my shoulders are all, I got frozen shoulders, so I can only do so much. But it's a way of, I guess, and I talk to people, as you know, and I I try to, if anybody asks me how you do this or how you overcome it, I have an answer for them. But to just go out and start trying to tell people to do things, I don't do that. I wait till somebody asks me what they should do. Then I find out what their problem is and what they think and then I can explain maybe a situation that I had with a hockey player or with moving around or whatever, to explain to them in a simple way of how you can overcome any problem you got. You think it out and save yourself some time by just wondering what's the best way to go and get it done.
Mm. Do you believe all dreams can come true?
Yeah. If you make them happen, they're going to come true. I mean, you have a lot of work to do to make any dream come true. It isn't like something that you can just snap your fingers and it's going to happen. You have to work at it. You can't just say, okay, gosh, I don't have to go to work today because I just don't feel like it. And then that's when you start losing all your emotions and your times and the things that you need to do in order to accomplish what you want.
Speaking like a true hockey player. Keep the puck
Yeah.
moving. What's the best advice you ever received?
I think, the most successful one, because in hockey, for instance, like, to explain, starting hockey in 1957, I got a lot of help from different people. And then from then on, the business side of things were different. But I always had somebody that would look after everything. Bill Shinsky became my partner. He looked after all the paperwork because the things that I don't like to do, and I always have somebody to help in that way. And of course, my good wife Frances, she did all the paperwork for me. I never had to worry about that. So that's one of my downfalls, is that, and the other one of my downfalls is that I trust everybody until something happens. And when it happens, then the trust from me to them leaves very, very quickly. So it's one of the things that huge thing is to trust a person or trust people until they do something behind the scenes that's going to just turn you around and say, you get out of here or you get away from me because you lied to me. And if you lie to me, you got to make another lie to protect your first lie. So don't ever lie to me. And that's why I had a good rapport with all my hockey players.
That's so beautiful. And I also believe that, in trusting ourselves, we are able to trust others. And
That's true.
because technically everyone can make mistakes, but if you trust yourself, you can recover no matter what the other person does. You'll be okay.
Yep.
I wonder, when I look at young people, with the economy as it is, housing being what it is, but you grew up through the years of the depression, so different times, but also similar circumstances in some ways. How do we keep our confidence when everything around us tells us that it's time to panic, or when everybody around you is panicking? How do you keep your cool?
Oh boy, that's a great question. That's a great question. Growing up, in the prairies through that period of time, I know how difficult it was for my dad and my mom. You know, the work that we had to do. I can think back now because my dad used to buy hides and furs and cow hides, and in the wintertime we'd get them, and I'd have to wait till they thawed up and then shake them all down and salt them and throw them against the wall And I always remember that Eisman, Hyde, and Burr would always come, and my dad would say, okay, you have to get all of them ready this morning before you go to school, get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And that's, I think, why I became so strong. And but it was something that we had to do through that period of time in order to make I guess for my dad to make money to look after me, because I always got well fed, always got everything I wanted. So, yeah, it was one of the things. But for other people, I think once you decide you want to do in life, you got to work at it very, very hard, very difficult, because nothing comes easy. You have to be strong. You have to be a good thinker. You have to be a person that can get along with other people. And if you have something to say, you say it straight out. You don't walk around the bushes and hope that everything's going to work out for you. You have to make it work out for yourself. You can't. There's no good gifts out without working very difficult to get it.
That's so beautiful. My mother always say, we grew up during the time of war, and she said, difficult time makes beautiful people make good times, soft times, make weak people, and weak people make hard times. And a lot of ways, the very struggles that we overcome makes us who we are and teach us lessons that help us grow stronger, that help us maybe be more prepared to weather the storms that life inevitably will bring. How do you keep yourself strong-hearted? Because one thing is being strong physically, which you do by exercising, going to the pool, but how do you keep your spirit strong and faith that you can make things happen?
Well, at my age, being 91, I think that the things that I do now is totally different. I guess I got really a lot of good friends, as you know, that I talk to. I think that's one of the reasons I go to the pool, because there's people there that I can talk with, and guys, they always want mostly how's hockey going, how's it going. They want the stories, and there's a lot of people because of going through a difficult time, losing my wife after that. Such a long period of time, I need to get out to talk with other people and get thoughts from them and little things from them to keep me so that I can feel strong.
I'm really sorry about you losing Frances. I remember the two of you coming to the pool. It was very sweet to see you together. What is your favorite memory of her?
Oh gosh, I got too many. I don't think we had any arguments or any bad discussions. The only thing, we'd always have fun when I was driving. Of course, she drove to the car, and we drive. When I was driving, she'd always say, "Why are you going this way? Why are you going?" I said, "Well, this is the way I always go." "No, the other road's easier." "No, it's not. I'm going this way." So now I carry a picture of her in the car so that I've always known that she's still with me. And if I go the wrong road, she'll be able to tell me, no, you're going the wrong way.
That's beautiful. I heard that once she became famous in some movie. Is that true?
Oh, yeah. We were up at Dease Lake, and we had an army truck, and we were going into Dease Lake, and we got stuck, and I had Clarence with me, and heavy in the water, and he got out and got just a 6-inch tree, and I'm holding Fran by one hand, and Clarence is on the other. As we got her out, and now I said, "Well, we can't get out of here." And I told, because it's kind of a bad road, so I told the fellows up in Dease Lake, I said, "If you don't hear from me, phone the police and tell them that, or an airport, come and find us, because the road is difficult and there's no place that you can just pull off. You have to be able to go ahead and do that." So anyway, me and Clarence were taking the groceries and everything up to where I knew about about a mile up where there was a cabin, a hunter's cabin, which had, they had the wood there so you could keep the stove going and you got everything there. So we're heading for there. Me and Clarence were heading. We hear a helicopter and hear the people from J City were doing with that they go in. And they were doing the movie. And the guy in the airplane said, "There's a gray-haired lady down there walking down there by herself." So they landed, and so I met Claudia again, which I knew from way back, and her husband Robin. And so they said, "Okay, we'll get your truck out of there, and but we need their permission to have Fran and you on our show." So that's how it all started.
So now you have movie credits to add to your long line of achievements. What would you say
Yeah.
is your greatest achievement?
Oh, four times. Well, the greatest achievement is putting so many kids into professional hockey and having so many to this day where I still have all the kids. Some of them are like going out and seeing the hockey game last night and seeing the coach being successful. And then, of course, in hockey, when guys are now scouts and working for a different and run across them every once in a while. And then players that I see. And now, of course, it's so nice because I can now, I get pictures with them. I have them on my cell phone every time I run across some of them. And so it's very nice that way. There's so many little things and so many dreams, I guess, that you have, but they all become successful if you work at it.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful to know that one life can create so many ripples, like your life has touched so many by the way that you've changed those players who went on to have different careers, the lives that they were able to provide for their older children, for the children they coach, for the children they inspire, and so many generations being touched by your life, by one life. I'm very inspired. I'm so delighted that you are this wonderful, strong will, courageous, and trusting, that you trust yourself so much with all these dreams. What would you say to someone who feels, well, I tried that, but I failed? Why bother?
Well, that's too easy to give up. You don't want to take that step at all. Whatever you have to do, whatever you want to desire in life, you have to make a decision. It's not going to be easy. You just can't say, okay, halfway through what my dream was, I'm going to quit. No, if you make up your mind that you want to do something, it's difficult. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be like somebody's going to give you a gift every time you turn around. You have to be able to prepare yourself so that the rewards you get at the end of the rainbow, people are going to help you all the way, but you have to help yourself the most. Your health is what you have to do. You decide, and whatever walk of life you want to do, when you make that decision, it's not going to be easy, but you have to work hard at it to get through right to the end of, like I said, to the end of the rainbow. That's what it's going to be the nicest part for you.
You are now a grandfather. Do your
Yep.
grandchildren play hockey as well?
My son played hockey. Brett didn't, but Brad played hockey. He played for Calgary Centennials with Scotty Monroe. And he hurt his back very, very young. And so he had to quit the hockey and he's into business. But his son that he was coaching, and he coached his son, and his son played, up till he got into his own business. They still go out and skate all the time and play old timers hockey. I think I think Brian just quit here last year playing old timers, and Adam still plays old timers hockey, and so it's in the family. And I think when Adam's little kids and the grandkids grow up, I think they'll be hockey players too.
That's beautiful. May you enjoy many, many, many more years of hockey games and inspiring young kids to fall in love with the sport that seems to have brought you so much joy and so many adventures. Perhaps if you could leave our audience with some inspiring words as to why it's important to commit to our dreams.
What you want out of life? What do you want to have? What do you want to accomplish? Where do you want to get to? What is your desire? Do you want to be the president of Canada? Then you have to have a desire to do that. If you want to be just a doctor, then you have to work hard at it. Nothing's going to be easy. So whatever you desire, what you want, when you're growing up, what you want to do, you have to work at it to get to the end. You can't just, there's going to be a lot of obstacles. There's going to be a lot of problems along the way, but you have to overcome all your problems. You overcome that and you can accomplish anything you want.
I love that you not only have mentioned that there are people in this world that will help you, so obviously your relations have been very important to you, and nurturing relationships is key to success. Who do you feel was most supportive to your career as a hockey player or in your other enterprise?
Well, Scotty Monroe was the top one for me in hockey, and he gave me that the start way back in 1949, 1950, and then to be able to have him come to Estevan and spend all them years with him, and time-wise, doing everything from sharpening the skates to coaching to, and later on to drive the bus, and then get here to know Westminster and meet so many, many good people that I still talk with, and things like that. That you can't buy that. You have to earn it. You have to be able to have that, I guess, charisma, or you treat people all as number one, because they are. And to do that, sometimes it might be difficult, but you have to work at it to overcome everything that you want to accomplish. And in the hockey world, it's tough, it's aggressive, but in order to be successful, you have to work at it. So young hockey players today, if they want to be successful, they can't just dream about it. They have to work at it. They have to desire to be the best and to work to be the best.
One thing that just came to mind was how many times you see conflicts break out when you're in a game, right? You see the hockey moms yelling and fighting, but you also see a lot of fights on the ice field. How do you deflate a fight? How do you deactivate conflict?
Well, conflicts are always going to be tough. I mean, it depends of where you are and what you've got. In the hockey world, there's always going to be some player that just wants to be better than you, so it makes it difficult. The opposition, if you see them nowadays, the rink is totally different than what I is when they take the red line out now, and like they say now, the deal is that the puck goes faster than you can skate, so you got to move the puck quickly. Things like that, that's an accomplishment you have to overcome. But to get a conflict in the business world, I wouldn't know, because I never had much to do with that type of situation. Bill always looked after that for me, and Brad always looked after anything of the conflict in the business world. But, it's, for me, the success was in this era anyway, mostly is through the hockey world. Mm-hmm. And I get so much comfort when I go to an arena, and everybody wants to talk and congratulate me and do things like that, but they want to know little things so they can tell their son, or they always take time to stop and talk to anybody that wants to say, and of course when I go from here down to the Coliseum, I get on the SkyTrain. So after a game, there's always people that coming back home last night. Two ladies, we talked all the way from getting on a commercial all the way back to home, and two elderly ladies that not only talking about the hockey game, but little things. I asked them questions, just like you asked me questions. So why are you going to the hockey? Well, we love it. It gives us something to do. And they're both married ladies. And I said, well, your husbands? Well, they're at home. They watch it on television. And here's two ladies, and elderly too, and that's their dream now, to be able to go to hockey games.
I love going to a live game. My first game was actually watching the little kids play, the one they do at
Yep.
Christmas, where you do the Christmas teddy toss, the teddy bear,
Yep.
the teddy bear games.
Yep.
And I remember our team score, and the crowd went wild, and there was this little boy, probably 6 years old. He rips his shirt off and starts swinging up in the air, and the excitement was just so contagious and so exuberant. It was just so beautiful to witness. And I think about, that passion can carry us through life. It doesn't have to end when you're 15. It doesn't have to end when you're 50, 60, 70, 80. You can carry that passion for life all your life. It's just that people make these silly assumptions that you have to be age appropriate. But joy doesn't have age. Passion doesn't have an age, and I think we all get to experience that, whatever our age. So I'm so glad that you're pointing out that hockey is not just for young people, it's for any age, anyone who loves and is passionate about. That's beautiful.
I'll tell you this little story. Two little kids. One had Hughes' sweater, and one had J.T. Miller's sweater, right? And I said two of them, and he was kind of used the sweater, the 43, and I said, "Oh, you like number 9, eh?" "Yeah, I like J.T. Miller." And I said, "No, I like Yuzi. He's a lot younger." And so they both of them are sitting on my knee, and they're taking a picture of them with me. So that'll be a keepsake for them kids for forever, So, but just to get them to think a little bit more about what they're doing and doing things like that, I often come up with something to get them to start talking.
Yes, being an independent thinker, right? Just because you like something doesn't mean you have to like what I like, And so allowing people to explore their curiosity, to explore, what brings them joy. And, it doesn't have to be the same thing for all of us. I am so delighted that you have so much passion for the game, so much passion for life. How do you inspire, people who say, well, I'm retired, I'm just resting now, I'm just gonna, sit in my rocking chair? What do you say to those folks who forgot maybe that they still get to be alive, they still get to be lively and dynamic?
Yeah, well, I had lunch with my hockey doctor just on Monday, just back, and he's in a position now where he retired, not really coldly retired. Last year he, took special times, and I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, I'm going back to work on Saturday." He said, "But I think I'm going to give my license up. I'm going to retire." And I said, "Well, what are you going to do? What are you doing now? What do you do now to keep yourself, occupied?" Here I'm telling the doctor, that, why do you want to retire? What are you going to do? And you can take time off whenever you want to, but what are you going to do? And so I got him thinking, so he's back working. I'm pretty sure he's working today. I don't know, when people they say they're going to retire, I says, well, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can only watch television so much. You can only go and sit at the AW, and I use that one as a little joke all the time. And they would say, "Why do you want to retire?" I said, "Well, I don't want to sit around the AW with the rest of you guys."
That's beautiful. I love that. I love that about you. I love that you are very feisty and very passionate. I've always believed the life is life. And so my mother always says, be alive while you're alive. She had a stroke last year, and the doctor said, oh, she needs to be, of course, 2 weeks after she gets out of the hospital, she got on the plane and, went somewhere else, then flew back, then wanted to go somewhere else and ended up getting another stroke. But that's another story. And the way I see it is, yes, it's not always sanctioned, but she's alive and she's living and she's enjoying life and she's willing to take the risk and she has a right to make those choices. Um, you know, so often we're afraid of dying, but I think in being afraid of dying, we're also afraid of life, and we don't always show up to life. You are someone who has definitely showed up to life and to play fully and to delight in everything that life throws at you. You survive your airplane crash. You
Everybody tells me I got 9 lives when I fell when we were doing that roadway uh, up on out of 2 Mile up in the Dease Lake area, and I left the guys in the excavator, and I said, well, I got 650 meters to go. I'll stake the next one, and then when I turned around, I slipped and I fell down into a ravine down about 100 feet into a washout, and I came out on the other side, and I walked down on a trail, like a animal trail, and when I got up, turned around down at the bottom of the ravine, I came out the wrong side. I was on an animal trail, and I stayed there. That was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I figured the guys would come and look for me, but they got scared and got into the excavator and went back because that's it. There was no roadways. So then they went over and got to Boulder City, and they called for the police, and the police came out, and then I stayed right there. And then on Wednesday, that was Sunday afternoon, I stayed Monday, Tuesday in that area because I figured they would come looking. And then on Wednesday, I decided to walk up way high up in the mountain and get in out of the trees and get into the sun. And I saw all the plane going in and out of over at Turnagain Lake Lodge. And so that night, Wednesday night, I decided I would walk and towards where the airplane was, and I had the Turnagain River to cross at different places. But I got down there, and then the next morning I got up at 4 o'clock and I started walking. And Thursday afternoon at 8 o'clock that night, the helicopter came through the trees, and they said he sped away from me. And then the next thing I know, here he comes and lands right down beside me and picks me up. And I get over to Turnagain Lake Lodge, and here's all these police there, the people, the police dogs, and everybody. I never even knew they were looking for me. And here that was just about 5 days. So that was another one that, to get through the wilderness, no bears, nothing to worry about when you're lost like that. It's very little to eat, a lot of water to drink, but and then when you get out, you're pretty weak, but still, I didn't believe what I saw when I got there, of all these people. That some of my hockey players, some people come from all over to start looking for me, but they never knew what area to look in. So
How old were you when this happened?
5 years ago.
Oh my God, are you serious? So you were 85 and you were like wandering to the woods like some wild man. I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
this. I
that
love it.
happened, man. That happened. That's why they say I have 9 lives.
Yes. And also, you have the passion to live all your 9 lives fully. And that's
Yep.
beautiful. That's a beautiful, beautiful story. Thank you so much for reminding us that life is meant to be lived and is meant to be lived fully. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. I know I've kept you way past what I promised, and I am so grateful that you're willing to share your stories with me.
Well, when you get me talking, you're in trouble. So,
Thank you again, Punch. This has been a
uh,
pleasure and a treasure.
all right. Thank you very much. You take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you for listening to The Art of Living. I'm an educational consultant and artist, authored. For more information about upcoming events, workshops, retreats, please reach out to sylviarichardson.com. Until next time, remember to be playful, to celebrate joy, and to allow love in all your co-creations.
You'll never have to wonder where the groove went. The groove is you.